Welcome to Experts View with Research NXT, where we bring industry experts to discuss their views and share insights on trending enterprise technology topics. All comments, views, and opinions expressed in this discussion is strictly those of the host and the guest. Now, over to Santosh Abraham.
Welcome, listeners. Today we have Meera Iyer, Head of Marketing at Bigbasket, sharing her views on marketing technology, best practices, and challenges in online retail and e-commerce vertical. Thanks a lot, Meera, for taking time out for this conversation.
Thank you.
Meera, you have worked with Unilever in different roles for 9 years, and now you are working with Bigbasket, one of the leading online retail organizations. Do you see a shift on how marketing is done in both the organizations, and what are your observations in this journey?
Well, there's quite a bit of difference. First of all, I think the two verticals are different. Levers is a traditional FMCG company. We are in the process, or we were in the process of building brands. And brands, marketing was a pretty central and dominant function over there that pretty much called all the shots, right? And over there, it was about how much of a pull you can create for a brand, and then left on to the sales team to ensure that you are present in the different outlets through different channels like wholesale, your regular GT, MT, etc. And grab share of shelf to ensure that the final transaction happens. But this is very different. This Bigbasket is a retail organization, and while people tend to generally call us e-commerce, I think one of the things that has been very fundamentally drilled into all of us is that we are a retail company. It just so happens that our mode of selling happens to be online rather than offline. So therefore, the fundamentals of a retail organization and how you manage retail is as much relevant over here as it is in an offline world. Right? So the two fundamental pillars over here are your merchandising teams and your operation teams. Operation because it's a delivery business. Merchandising because that's what retail is fundamentally about. And because it is an online company, obviously product and technology become very important and play a very critical role in terms of the overall customer journey and the whole UI UX bit. Marketing comes into picture fundamentally for demand generation, right? And here is where we have a very crucial role to ensure that we use the right mix in terms of our marketing spend to ensure that we keep on growing the demand. And while you said that I'm no longer a startup, I would beg to differ. We very much consider ourselves to be a startup. While we may be 5-year-old in Bangalore, in our latest market, which is, let's say, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, we are not even a year old, right? So we have different markets at different stages of evolution. So we very much like to think about us as a startup and continue to operate that way, not really thinking about us as somebody who is completely well entrenched and, too big to move about nimbly, so to speak.
Oh, well, that's great. You guys growing so big and still considering yourself a startup and being so nimble and working in that manner. That's really great. So you've been heading marketing in both the organizations, right? As the role has really changed when you have moved to this Bigbasket from Unilever in terms of the expectations that is there from someone heading marketing.
So I think the mandates in both the cases are very clear, which is to fundamentally grow the brand, to grow the product that you are handling, and also to ensure that you manage to build equities of the brand that you are fundamentally looking after and growing during the period while managing growth simultaneously. So with Bigbasket and Levers, that is a common point. The way in which it is done in a traditional company versus how it is done in a startup or in an e-commerce sector is very different, right? And that's what I would, take possibly another couple of minutes to really highlight. So one of the things that is critical to success over here in Bigbasket is really the whole digital piece, right? Given that we are an online platform, digital marketing and using it to the best possible effect is critical in terms of aiding conversions. We as an organization, you would know, have taken the ATL route, which means that even though we are online, we have a significant amount of our marketing spend, almost well over half of it going into ATL and other or different forms of ATL. So therefore that fundamentally drives awareness for us, the whole interest for us. But then the final piece of conversion that needs to happen from expressing or from awareness to actual trial is something that is aided very very nicely and in a very efficient manner by the digital team. Because all said and done, it will take much more than just viewing an ad of Shah Rukh Khan to finally make you place an order. You'll always have to basically tackle with all the triggers and barriers that a customer or a consumer may have in order to make that final deal happen. And then after having made that deal happen, unlike levers where I had no clue as to who were the households buying a Dove or a Surf Excel or any other brand that I've handled, over here I know exactly who have really tried Bigbasket, and then it becomes a very big challenge and indeed a significant chunk of work for me to ensure that I retain these people and make them transact time and again and increase their lifetime value or LTVs as we call them. So it's fundamentally different in terms of the channels that you use and the importance of different channels. It's also different in the sense that you know exactly who your customers are, and therefore you have a double-pronged job of not just generating demand on one end, but also equally at the other end, managing your customers through inbound marketing channels and ensuring that you retain them. And there is a third interesting component of work that I do at Bigbasket, which is very fundamental to a retail organization, which is managing private labels. Because any retail organization will build its margins and build profitability through private labels, and Bigbasket is no different. So 35% of our contribution is from private labels, and we have about 7 brands that I manage within the private label portfolio. Wow. So it is an interesting task to also have this third leg added of managing private labels and growing them within the overall business of Bigbasket month on month and doing well over there.
Well, that's great. So you have your own private labels and you're also promoting other brands. Do you have any conflict of interest when you do that, or how do you manage it? Because you would be having similar products as well.
Yeah, I don't think there is a conflict of interest per se. So I'm saying that just because, so we are a retail organization, private labels belong to us as an organization. Basically lists both us and competitors, in that we are very clear that we first serve the customer. Therefore, to give the customer a choice and to make them see all the brands is paramount, right? At no point in time have we ever shown any partiality in terms of listing products wherever we have private labels. So, for example, if I have a brand of Atta now, which is Royal, we call it Bigbasket Royal, I continue to have Ashirwad, I continue to have Pillsbury, I continue to have Annapurna and a whole host of even local brands in different places. For example, I think in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh there's a brand called Samrat. In some other parts of the country there are some other local brands. We ensure that we give customers the complete choice and freedom to choose. We never hold back any brands in terms of listing, and that is what will build transparency as well as customer trust in whatever we are trying to sell, right? Otherwise, why would a customer come if they are not able to see regular brands that they are well aware of? Private labels, by virtue of being private labels, are fundamentally products that are as good as national brands but are not advertised really, because their sole purpose is being gross margin accretive, and therefore you can't advertise. But at no point in time do they get any unfair advantage over competitors. They are listed along with competitors, and customer has full choice to basically buy whatever he or she prefers.
That's great. So as you mentioned that you are as good as a retail store, which is now online. Now in a retail store, you can use some shopper marketing concepts, some analytics to define which products you want to keep at the center and how to attract someone towards the end of the counter to buy products. You have a digital asset. So how do you ensure that towards the customer entering to your site and by the time leaving, how do you keep the engagement?
So it is actually even more granular and detailed when it is an online world, Santosh. Simply because I know exactly how the customer is going. I know which pages the customer is browsing through, which places has the customer clicked on a particular banner creative? Where has the customer directly moved on to just searching a particular product? I know even in terms of searching, whether the customer is searching for a category term like let's say shampoo, or the customer is searching for Tresemme shampoo, right? So I know down to the last granular bit in terms of how the customer is really navigating. And this really is a very rich source of data to really understand how they shop and how they think while shopping, right? And we use it effectively in many ways. One of the things about retail is that unlike, let's say, a horizontal player like a Flipkart or even any other lifestyle brand, over here, the average basket that we sell has about 22 items, right?
Wow.
It will be 1 item, 2 items, or max 5 items in any other place that you actually go to buy online.
That's
But
correct.
over here, it is 22 items. And imagine a customer having to sift through 20,000 products to buy the 22 that she wants. Right? So therefore, the constant endeavor is to make it easy for the person to really order. And in that, we use a lot of analytics. So for example, we have a smart basket. Now, smart basket is nothing but an amalgamation of all the previous purchases that you've made, and with some really good algorithms added to determine purchase frequency. So for regular people buying from Bigbasket, if they enter the smart basket, they will see first up the products that they are most likely to need that week. And that's simply computed by looking at the ordering frequency. So if you tend to buy, let's say, a potato or a cauliflower every week, it will feature in every week. However, if you tend to buy, let's say, a dal or let's say a toothpaste only once a month, it will not show you in the middle of the month after you've done your purchase. It will only show it to you maybe 3-4 weeks after you've done your last purchase, right? So we use analytics to really power and simplify shopping for the customer in the segment where typically the number of items added to the basket tends to be very large. In addition to that, for engaging the customers, we are continuously trying to see the kind of things that they can, or they will be interested in. Engagement is obviously in the form of communication that we share with them. So this could be in the form of newsletters, mailers, in terms of some notifications that they get. In addition to that, specifically because it is a great fit with us, we have our own recipe section on our site, which is also going to go live on the app soon, possibly next month, which we call BV Flavors. And we find that to be a fantastic way to really help customers, because one of the common conundrums with all people in homes is that aaj kya banaye hum? Right? Saying, because you run out of ideas very soon, be it your lunch, dinner, be it your tiffin boxes, etc. So we are trying to really engage customers and help them out even through our recipe section. In addition to that, we also have a blog that really aims at wellness, at also giving a lot of beauty tips, because we have a large range of that as well. So we have different forms of engagement, both in the form of direct communication to customers, as well as some blog pieces, as well as some insight on the site sections like recipes, etc. That's how we manage to keep our customers engaged. But more than engaged, I think when people are shopping groceries, first and foremost, they are looking for quality goods, and they are looking for fantastic service because it is home delivery. And that is what really drives a lot of joy and retentions for us at Bigbasket.
Yeah, that's really cool in terms of mapping the customer's journey and then adding up relevant content and also relevant purchases based on their past experiences and their behavior. I'm sure, as you mentioned, a lot of analytics is going into this. So all of this technology in terms of the analytics or the customer journey mapping or how you score your customers to target them with various products, are you building all of this in-house, or are you using some products? How is your marketing technology stack built right now?
So first of all, I think when I'd like to clarify a point over here, Santosh, which is that when people think marketing technology, they think digital marketing, but that is not all.
Absolutely.
So, simply put, technology is anything that makes life easier. Right? So in marketing parlance, technology is anything that either makes something faster, right, as a process, or they completely automates a mundane repetitive process, or basically makes it much easier, more efficient in terms of managing marketing, right? And that does not really or that is not the sole purview of, let's say, digital marketing. For example, when surveys go online and when the whole gathering of insights and the whole social listening piece happens and basically brings to marketeers rich insights, that is marketing technology, right?
Right.
Or, for example, even your basic TV viewership or your entire bar data that you get in terms of being able to figure out what is your reach frequency, your GRPs delivered, etc. That is also a form of marketing technology, although that segment is one piece that as marketeer I would love to see much more development happening, because today, unlike a digital marketing arena, on the TV and on even to a certain extent, fundamentally TV, you don't have the ability to really target your audiences beyond some very broad demographics and possibly some psychographic characteristics that you can define. I would love to see marketing technology come into TV in a big way, because it is still the largest avenue of spend and will continue to be so for decades. And there, a Santosh sees a different ad at the same time during an ad break versus a Meera seeing a different ad, which is more relevant for her. Right? We haven't yet reached that kind of a thing. However, I'm able to do something like that on, let's say, a YouTube, or I'm able to do something like that on a Facebook. I would love to see that kind of technology transfer happen to a TV as well, because that would be real joy to marketing community as a whole, where so much of spends today, and not just today, even in the future, is going to continue being on TV as a channel. But coming back to what you said in terms of how are we fundamentally tackling marketing technology, so it's a mix of in-house and partners that we have. So our analytics team in-house works with a data warehousing company, as well as we also have a visualization entity, allows us to really see and bring all of this data together. In addition to that, we are integrating with Garuga as a marketing automation solution, which allows us to fundamentally segment our customers and also define user experience flows, which aids engagement as well as conversions on the site and app whenever customers are shopping with us.
Great. And on the television bit, though, you are still not able to segment and then publish ads, I think you guys did a great job of having Shah Rukh Khan. That is a mass appeal. I think everybody in India loves him, and everybody is a big basketeer now, including myself.
No, that's good to know, Santosh. But Shah Rukh was a clear brand fit for us. And that's why we went ahead with him. Any brand, when you work with brand ambassadors and especially celebrities, has to be very careful in picking the right fit in terms of personality and what the brand wants to convey. For us, Shah Rukh was the perfect blend of somebody who is a very family-oriented person and is known for his commitment to his family, and is also someone who is well-liked, who is also known to be witty, who is also known to be intelligent, and therefore someone who is progressive. And it was a perfect blend fit for us, and working with celebrities is always a double-edged sword. No, till the ad is released on whether it will click or not with the audiences. We are glad that our gambit paid off and the creative is done really well for us.
Hyper-local grocery space is coming a big time now. We have players like Grofers over there. Are the Big Basket specialty stores part of your strategy to compete with such players, or is it part of your omni-channel strategy?
So the only part of our business which is hyperlocal is the specialty stores. Clearly, we've put down a very clear org structure where we only go into non-compete partnerships. And you will never see me tying up with an offline modern trade store or any mom and pop store. It will always be with non-compete categories like a bakery or a mithai shop or the flower vendors or a florist, etc. So to that extent, we are very clear that as far as the regular overall home needs is concerned, we are very much stuck to our inventory model, which has worked very well for us and continues to work. And indeed, I think now there are a couple of white papers also published world over, which clearly point out that in groceries, which is traditionally a low margin business, it is the model that seems to work is the inventory model. The reason why we added specialty over here is simply because we realized that now customer typically in a month, as far as groceries and home consumption goes, tends to have three kinds of purchases. One is the planned monthly purchase that they do. Second is the top-ups that they basically do throughout the month whenever they run out of something or they need to replenish their fresh products, especially your fruits and vegetables, bakery items, and sometimes meats, etc. And then there is a third purchase that is also part and parcel of their life, which is buying through these really favorite, so to speak, neighborhood stores. So yes, you have a Haldiram ka namkeen selling on Bigbasket, but there is this Adyar and the Bhavan, or there is this particular mithai wala whose namkeen I really like, and I don't think the Haldirams comes anywhere close to that. So despite the convenience being there, I will never change my brand loyalty to that local mithai wala because I really like that. Right? Or
Absolutely.
if it is a big, so that is part and parcel of a customer's life, and we recognize that, and we said that we will give you that convenience of home delivery even through your favorite neighborhood shop, because we know that you've now gotten used to that whole concept of ordering online and getting it delivered rather than you having to generally trudge along and get something back home. So it was pretty much led out of the whole consumer behavior and their requirements rather than us wanting to push our own agenda. Ultimately, I think in business models, the ones that will succeed are ones that keep customer at the center of it and really don't try to change their behavior as much as really addressing their needs.
So this is definitely delightful to the customer, especially someone like me. So I have a chicken shop from where I buy, and now it is on Bigbasket, Army Chicken. So their quality is good, and I know that guy personally. So now I can order it through Bigbasket. It could never deliver online. We would love to have Kayani Bakery from Pune also coming on Bigbasket. That's the best bakery in Pune. So we look forward to that. In fact, a lot of Punekars can, post a message to you as to what we want on Bigbasket. That's a really cool initiative. It's good to have everything at one single place. You mentioned that television, of course, is the biggest, channel still in terms of something where you have assured ROI or returns. Apart from this, which channels has worked really for you if you need to categorize top three apart from television? And how do you measure your ROI out of these channels?
So, television is obviously something that drives a much wider reach than any other channel can give you. And it also is a medium that brings a lot of credibility to your brand. Right? I've seen an ad on television 4 times. I'm more likely to trust that brand as compared to a brand that I have never heard of, seen of, and just seen somewhere on a Facebook post or a Facebook wall. To that extent, ATL or traditional media still, even now, are ones that give tremendous credibility to brands that advertise on them. In addition to that, what we have seen is, I think, all the channels that we use very judiciously, and efficiency is a very important aspect. So ROI measurements and being on top of that particular number that we've set ourselves as goalpost is critical. So if it is digital media, we've seen a lot of success with search as a route to basically get a lot of people, a lot of customers to come visit the site and convert. We've also seen a good measure of success in terms of having great partnerships and specifically partnerships with banks and with wallets, because they are integral to the whole online piece of payment and therefore become very good partners to have, and their base and our base is something that only helps both the partners get into a win-win relationship. Affiliate marketing is another piece that's done well, although every now and then we come up with some or the other issue in terms of some rogue affiliates trying to basically bid on keywords on search and trying to take credit for something which is not really an affiliate channel. But those niggling, whatever two, three bits that have come about, that apart, affiliate as a channel is really worked for us. Social media has worked more as an engagement medium for us rather than something that really acquires customers. But we are trying to see how can we leverage social media into a really big acquisition platform for us as well. And our experiments will continue. We've seen limited measure of success with radio advertising because we frankly think that it is acting more as a reminder medium rather than something that is a call to action. Press ads have worked well, and there have been it's a mixed bag. So sometimes it tends to work really well, sometimes not so great. And when we get down to analyzing what works where, etc., we find typically the reasons that hold for a particular set does not hold for the next set. So it really gets very difficult to quantitatively, point out to what worked and what didn't work. But press has given us a fair measure of success, and we see that in terms of the spike that we see whenever we advertise on press. And other than that, in terms of BTL, while we've had some rounds of BTL, I continue to maintain the school of thought back from levers that BTL is not a marketing medium that you can really scale. And therefore, if you cannot scale, you might as well keep it down to the bare minimum and only when you have to use it as such.
Yeah, that's great. That's really insightful. I know that we've taken more time than what we asked for. Last two questions, and then I'll wrap it up. The whole discussion was very insightful. We have a huge subscriber base which has subscribed now for this particular report, and I think they will greatly benefit from someone who has actually started working from the very initial stage of Bigbasket and implemented different technology in the marketing campaigns. Could you share some best practices with us so that anyone who is starting up an e-commerce setup or building up a retail chain, what they should consider while they are building their marketing strategy?
So, Santosh, I have always maintained this, and I have really tried drumming this to whichever teams I'm working in. The one thing that marketing starts with, or the starting point of marketing, is always your customers. And unless you understand your customers well, there is no strategy that's really going to generally work out. So your strategy has to be strongly led out of very good consumer insights, right? And only if you're going to really address a real need and not a fictionally created one just because it sounds cool, is your business model going to succeed. And therefore, all marketing, to anybody who wants to get into marketing, the first and the foremost thing is that you should really, really take time and put in a lot of effort to understand your customers and consumers and draw some very sharp insights to basically build your strategy around. And secondly, having gotten to that level where you now have a good understanding of your customers, your business, and you know what your target is, you should evaluate your media choices really carefully within whatever budgets you are carrying, and really take time again to sit down and decide your targeting options, how you will target, which segment you will target, and what are you going to target them with. So, for example, the messages that I send out to moms is very different as compared to the messages that I send out to, let's say, middle-aged men. Right? And therefore, it is critical to have that messaging sharpness to basically come into picture. Of course, you can't do that in an ATL kind of a medium, but wherever it permits, you're able to do that. Have your exclusions so that you're able to really manage your efficiencies. So don't go and target people who are already with you. Please exclude them wherever you are able to exclude them as a segment. And lastly, I think the most important thing for a marketer is really common sense. Because more than anything, it's basically just putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and you don't really need to do some very complicated stuff. Simplicity works, and it works well. You just have to be commonsensical about it. So I would seriously first prioritize understanding your consumers, to prioritizing your targeting options in terms of, and that again is led out of your consumer Santosh, because you should know where is your consumer and where are you able to basically touch them, right? and that's important. And having decided that within the budget that you're working on, you have some smart ways of really building in efficiencies by excluding people who are already with you, by excluding certain sets who are just not going to return back to you, and making it work for your organization.
Sure, great. And as someone who has participated in this report, you also participated in the survey, so thanks for that. What is your expectation from this particular report that we are building? As a marketer, what insights would you like to gain from a report like this?
So the report I saw was focusing on marketing automation.
Right.
It would be lovely to understand the different stages of marketing automation that we have different companies getting into. It would also be good to understand the challenges that they are facing. So, for example, upfront I will state that at Bigbasket, the problem with marketing automation has been really about the whole process of integrating with whoever has been our partners in this, and then now having integrated, you suddenly find yourself with the ability to possibly create not 100 but thousands of segments. And if you have 1,000 different segments, you will need to have 1,000 different creators to tackle them with, and that is not really feasible. That is not really doable or practical.
Right.
So, how do people come up with innovative solutions for these kind of challenges in terms of saying, you've done your entire integration, you have your analytics, you've created segments, but then if the segments are going to be so varied and so different, how are you really addressing them, and how can you really automate some of these creative processes by which you're able to target people the way you want them to, but efficiently with the right set of creatives for you without having to undergo huge churn, because otherwise creative process itself is something that can take the energies and time of an entire organization if that were to really dictate what's to happen with marketing automation.
Yes, we will surely consider these points while preparing the report. Thanks a lot, Meera, for taking time out for this discussion. I'm sure your inputs would help us in a great way to build this report and also would benefit the listeners. Thanks a lot for participating.